Well, JP Morgan's view is next year we're forecasting an average of $74. So you could see sort of a modest recovery over this winter period, but then in 2020 sort of $63. So in the medium term we see some actual moderation.
Do you think that, just for a second, have those forecasts actually come down from previous forecasts, and when did you cut them?
Yeah, we cut them recently. That was predicated really on North American supply sort of in the second half of next year sort of ramping up. You've probably heard, some of the pipeline bottlenecks are more sort of stringent in the first half of next year, and then they start to ease gradually from next year. And then also we're more cautious on demand, and we're only forecasting demand growth globally next year at 1.1 million barrels per day, which is slightly below consensus, and that's a real concern for us, especially also in China. If you actually look at diesel demand growth in China, you've really started to see some moderation there on slightly weaker industrial activity.
But how much is the market and the price being driven now by the supply-demand factors that you just mentioned, Scott, and how much of it is politics?
Yeah, look, US politics has played a part, and you were saying about some comments in terms of the US president there and oil prices before. Look, it's still been supply-demand driven. You've started to see Saudi ramp, or really OPEC countries from sort of May this year sort of ramp up by about 2 million barrels per day. I mean, there was some news out yesterday about Saudi at 11 million barrels per day from sort of 10 than it was previously at the start of this year. So supply is ramped up there, and we're sort of now focused on the OPEC meeting on the 6th of December.
6th of December, even if they decide to cut, will it have that much of a bullish impact on the market in light of the fact that actual compliance and implementation has been an age-old issue with those members?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Look, on our numbers, OPEC has got to at least cut by 1.2 million barrels per day for the whole of next year, and 1.7 million barrels per day for first quarter next year. We recently held a global oils conference in London, and actually some of the expert speakers there were suggesting that unless there's sort of consensus on an aggregate production level to ease, that actually the OPEC could kick the can down the road and not decide this until sort of early next year. I think a lot of this will really depend on how OPEC feel about the strength of demand. I think at the moment it seems reasonably robust. But obviously the higher prices we've seen for part of this year may well have actually impacted or have started to impact the consumer.